Okay, so let's dive right in. If you've been anywhere near AI Twitter or GitHub lately, you have probably seen the massive buzz around Gary Tan's Gitstack. It's being talked about as this next big thing in AI-powered software development, but there's a lot of confusion about what it actually is. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the real architecture behind Gitstack, and we'll uncover why that popular multi-agent label, well, it isn't quite the whole story.
So you've probably heard Gitstack called a virtual engineering team for your AI assistant, specifically for Claude Code. But here's the thing. That label is both completely accurate and also pretty misleading. And understanding that tension is really the key to grasping Gitstack's true innovation. So let's break that down. On one hand, it feels totally true, right? Because Gitstack gives the AI these super specialized roles. One minute it's acting like a founder reviewing a plan, the next it's a paranoid engineer checking code, and then it's a QA lead testing the result. But here's the catch. These aren't actually independent AI agents talking to each other. Nope. They're just different modes for one single AI, and you, the developer, you're the one conducting the whole orchestra.
To really get why Gstack is built this way, you gotta understand the core problem it's trying to solve. And that problem? It's all about role confusion.
Just think about how we normally use a coding assistant. In a single chat thread, we're basically asking it to be the founder with the vision, the architect designing the system, the engineer writing the code, the senior engineer reviewing it, the QA lead testing it, and the release engineer shipping it, all at the same time. When you ask one AI to juggle all those different, conflicting jobs at once, what do? You get a confused, watered-down output that's just not very effective.
So, what's Gstack's answer to all this chaos? Well, instead of making the AI do everything at once, it gives it a set of, let's call them explicit cognitive gears, that it can shift between. And this just brilliantly illustrates the core idea. Gstack isn't a team of agents, it's a role-specialized workflow stack. Think of it as a really opinionated architecture. It takes one seriously powerful AI, like Claude Code, and organizes it into a sequence of specialist modes, and each one of those modes is perfectly tuned for a specific part of building software.
I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. Each of these tasks needs a totally different mindset, right? A different set of criteria, a different goal. By pulling these things apart, Gitstack forces a kind of discipline that just massively improves the quality of the AI's output. I mean, you wouldn't ask your CEO to do a deep code review, would you? It's the exact same principle here. And get this, shifting between these gears is super simple. It's all done through a set of slash commands that tell the AI which hat to put on. Is it time for CEO-level planning? Or a super paranoid code review? Or maybe some QA testing? Each command just flips the AI into that specific, specialized role. It's the complete opposite of that chaotic mess we were talking about before. This is organized. This is disciplined.
All right, so how does this whole thing actually work under the hood? Let's peel back the curtain a bit and look at the actual architecture. Because once you see it, it becomes totally clear why Gstack is a sophisticated workflow system and not some hive of magical independent agents. The best way to think about it is in 4 distinct layers. At the top, you've got the skill layer. That's basically just the structured prompts that tell the AI how to behave in each role. Underneath that is the tool layer, which gives the AI its powers, access to Git, browser automation, that kind of stuff. Then there's the runtime layer, and this one is super important. And finally, you have the workflow layer, which is where you, the user, string it all together, sequencing these skills to take a project from an idea all the way to shipping it.
Okay, let's zoom in on that runtime layer because it is arguably Gstack's biggest technical innovation. What it does is it uses a persistent browser. And that means it keeps your cookies, your tabs, your login state, all of it, active between commands. This makes QA unbelievably fast and effective because the AI isn't starting from scratch every single time it needs to check its own work in a browser.
So here's the bottom line. When you actually look at the architecture, it becomes crystal clear. This is one single assistant guided by a human moving through a disciplined workflow. It's just switching its cognitive hat at each step. It's not a bunch of different AIs talking to each other autonomously.
And this table just makes that distinction impossible to miss. On one side, you have a true multi-agent framework. That means separate agent instances, a way for them to pass information back and forth, and some kind of autonomous logic for coordinating. Now look at Gitstack. It uses a single AI instance. The state? That's managed by the workflow and that persistent runtime we just talked about. And the coordination? That's almost all done by the human user. It's way simpler and honestly, in a lot of ways, a whole lot more practical. Okay, so we've hammered this point home. Gitstack is about workflows, not agents. But why does that even matter? Why is that distinction so important? Well, because it points to a much bigger lesson about where AI-assisted engineering is really headed.
The real genius of GraphStack isn't some super complex multi-agent system. It's just incredibly smart workflow design. It's about that extreme role specialization, creating repeatable steps in the development lifecycle, automating release hygiene, and, this is the big one, that super fast browser-based verification loop. These are the things that actually make you more productive.
And this right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the problem with AI coding assistants today. Getting an LLM to spit out a bunch of code, that's the easy part. It's practically a commodity at this point. The real challenge, the thing that slows everything down, is verifying that the code actually works. Gstack's obsession with that fast, persistent browser-backed QA loop is a direct attack on that fundamental weakness.
So all of this leads to one final, kind of provocative question. What does the next wave of AI engineering really look like? Are we just in a race to throw more and more autonomous agents into these ever more complex systems?
The profound lesson from Gstack suggests, probably not. The next massive leap in productivity might not come from adding more agents. It's going to come from building better operating systems for one agent. It's about more discipline, stronger QA loops, and clearer workflow boundaries. That is the real insight here, and that is what Gstack gets so brilliantly right.